The worst thing you could do, people do this to us all the time. We want to interview you and send us your bio, your image, your social security number, post this 25 times here. I'm out. We're building a team, we're growing, and I don't need more homework. It's open floor today on LinkedIn strategy or just marketing strategy in general.
I have a live booked for next week. Best use of my content abilities between now and that live would be what? Would there be a formula to get people to that live? Because then from that live, I want to sell a program.
The way that I would do it is whatever I'm going to share in this session, I'm going to turn into short form videos or posts. So if I'm going to do a training, for example, on LinkedIn newsletters, the 7 to 10 days preceding that, I'm basically only going to talk about LinkedIn newsletters. And the reason is because if I do a post that is, hey, these are the 5 reasons you should do your LinkedIn newsletter, and people ask questions or they just like it, when they go to my profile, if they see the event, they're going to be more fit person for that training. Also, when I message them, hey, I saw that you liked my post, I'm going to do a live training on this topic next week. They're also that much more likely to attend because they've already shown interest. If I do a poll, hey, do you want to learn about LinkedIn newsletters or have you launched a LinkedIn newsletter? What you're doing is you're just getting more of the right people that are already showing interest in this topic to your event that's on the same topic, to your program that's probably on the same topic. It's revving up how much noise you make around that one particular thing to attract the people interested in that thing so that they could be the people that get to the event.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I would also rev up the newsletters if you can, almost every day leading up to the training. I do a newsletter on that similar topic, just to rev it up. Because I could talk about LinkedIn or like any general topic, but I don't want just anyone interested in growing on LinkedIn on a training. If they don't do video, they shouldn't be on there. If they don't want to do live video, they shouldn't be on there. Think about all of the filters and just almost scream about those things, because then that just gets more of the right people onto your training.
Can you talk about that strategy of finding a person to collaborate with and approaching and that kind of idea?
I would just audit who you see a lot. Who do you see a lot? That they not only get comments, but the comments are not bots, and that you see that your people may jive well with their people.
Do you think about the disparity in audience size? If I'm at 3,500, do I only want to look for people that are 5 or 10,000, or does it not matter if they have 100,000?
I don't really look at audience size as much as who is their audience and how engaged are they. Like Dr. Geneva. Every time I collab with Dr. Geneva, we'll get people outreaching. And why? It's not that she has a ton of followers. It's just that a lot of the followers that she has, she also knows in real life, and they're higher level professionals and leaders across different industries. And her word is golden. They trust her so much that it's not even think twice. Another collaboration I did with Dr. Julie Gerner, by people seeing me with her, these high level CEOs were just like, I don't even need to know who you are. I just need to know that she gave her mark of approval, and they were just connecting. So that's the type of person you want that has their audience's trust. And usually that just happens through consistency.
What's your outreach process like? Do you just ping them and say, oh, I love what you're doing, and build up to it?
I just ask them. Yeah, I would say, hey, I've seen a lot of your content. I usually just approach it like, I'd love to share what you're doing with my audience on LinkedIn. Even if you have 1,000 newsletter subscribers, like who wouldn't want free exposure, basically? And then you could just say afterwards, my team will send you the file and you can get video clips. I also don't expect everyone to say yes. So whoever says yes, it's okay. And then whoever says no, it's their loss.
So are you trying to get them to send a bunch of invitations to their audience when they do an event with you, or do you not push that part? It's just about getting them to do something with you, and that's enough.
So that's a good question. So if I'm hosting the event, it's my responsibility to market the event, not theirs, especially if they're bigger than me, not just in numbers, but in authority in their industry. I'm inviting you to my platform. It should be my team doing the marketing. The worst thing you could do, we want to interview you and send us your bio, your image, your social security number, post this 25 times here. Like, I'm out. We're building a team, we're growing, and I don't need more homework. So if you're going to invite me to an interview, then it's your responsibility to market that event. If I post it, repost it, whatever, then that's great. But I don't like to give people more work, especially if they're doing me a solid by just being on an interview with me. And I think that's why people say yes, because I could find your picture. We have Google. I'll use your LinkedIn profile picture. Like, I don't need them to send me anything. Just show up.
And then how does that trickle into growing you? Because people don't see it unless the invitations go out or whatever. Or maybe I'm missing something. I think there's a step in the middle that I'm not seeing.
Oh, so it's growing you because it's just you're associated with them. If people just see you with them, a percentage of their network will just follow you. It's not that their network's not going to see it. And a part of this is also not just you doing one thing. I think that's also where people get misguided. When I did the Julie Gerner thing, we did the interview. We also had 10 mini clips. I did 2 newsletters. So it's multiple little pings and associations. And then she did reshare it, but I didn't say, oh, you must reshare. When they see you do the work, they'll also reshare it.
Yeah, no, this really helps me because that's what I do with the podcast content, right? That's really done a lot of growth for me, that where I restream it live, and a lot of them do share it, which is cool. I say, you don't have to, but if you do, because most people don't use their LinkedIn invites, and you never know which person, their audience is going to go crazy for it. So that's why I do a lot of content, but I just wanted to see if there was a piece I was missing that I'm not doing, because I just want to make sure my ducks are in a row, but it sounds good. Thank you.
My question is, so then you get the clip, you've recorded and then what do you do with it? And here you talked about minute clips. Are you focusing the minute clips on highlighting them and what they said and posting it on your feed and tagging them? What is your protocol around that?
I think that some people during interviews, they stay too silent. And then basically I've learned all about your guests and nothing about you. What that produces are clips where only they talk and you don't have anything to rebuttal or whatever. I think just being strategic with questions, to ask questions that are probably like a hook. And even if I just ask that and get their response, is a good clip. So I try to include myself in all the clips because the ultimate goal is to associate me with them. So if you're going to go big, I think timing is important, but I don't really care about the person's following. I care about the quality of their following and their engagement.
This has been a really good conversation for me because I'm surprised to hear that. I usually would assume when you are interviewing somebody that they need you more than you need them because of your following. And it's interesting for me to hear your thought process around how you identify people and how you leverage that, because it's opened my mind to a lot more, because I was always thinking it's a one-way streak. So I'm not showing up confident because I'm feeling like, oh, if they have more following than I do, then the power dynamic is different. But now it's helping me be able to frame things in my mind about how can I help them and how can they help me, and try to figure that point of alignment and then approach people like that. So that's very helpful. The problem I have is not the production of content. Is then what happens after. I can do a live every day if I have to. And out of that will come a lot of content. I already shoot evergreen content already, like just in front of the camera talking. But then I have all this content on my phone and I'm like, okay, what do I do with it? Because that's also a lot of time. My question is, what has been the best way for you to scale content and put a lot out there without you having to do everything? And I'm looking for an answer beyond just hire a VA, because then there is training and all these things, and then that becomes a time suck. Is there anything you found that has helped you?
I would do a daily live until I mastered the messaging, and I would forget about repurposing anything. Because once you master the messaging, repurposing should be so easy because the profitability is not a problem. The number one thing is I would just refine the live. And the reason why I would say the live is because it's something that you don't need a second person for, an editor for, and you could iterate every day and almost get immediate feedback and build that community. So that's the first thing I would do. And then once I mastered the messaging, I would not hire a VA. I think I would find somebody that has more of an operational skill set if you don't, and you're more like a visionary, want to create. And then what I would do is maybe see if you could work in conjunction for a project for 6 months. And if you work together, then maybe proceed into either partnership or JV or whatever. But I wouldn't just jump into a partnership either. We did co-projects probably for a year.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this works.
Awesome. That's helpful.
I will also answer this because I still do all of my content myself because number one is I enjoy doing it a lot. And my COO is mad at me for doing it myself. But I believe that if you're in the business of publishing books, you need to write every day. What I think helps me is thinking in terms of the storyboard. Think about that first, and then you shoot just these scenes that belong in the storyboard. And then once you have that, AI is getting better and better at picking and combining videos for you. It's getting really good where no, you're not going to get quality of a human video editor, but it might be good enough to put on your LinkedIn or wherever.
I would also add, make an intentional effort to make friends and become best friends with more creators, because there's some YouTube creators that I'm getting really close to, and just one call opens my eyes more. I'm like, whoa, it could just push you. And when you see someone that's a little bit ahead of you getting those results as they still run a very successful business, then I think that helps too.
If at one point you could talk a little bit about when you get on the phone calls with client, what the best practices that have worked for you, that would be also really helpful. For
selling or for just the coaching?
Basically making sure that you're not overselling, but maybe get on these prospecting calls and what has worked for you. You've done so many of them. What do you think is success? Saying too much, not saying too much. What do you put in front of them and what you don't? That would be really cool to know.
Usually I'll know if the person's serious before the call. It's just, if the message is short and if they're like, hey, I've seen your stuff, I want to grow on LinkedIn. And if they respond fast, they're probably serious. So when we get on a call, I just don't do any small talk and I just get to it. Recently, I was on a call with a guy who has this IT company in San Diego, and it's, you've had the company for a long time, so why do you want to grow now? And then they'll tell me, and then I'll start filtering. I'll be like, are you willing to do video? And then they're like, yeah, I suck at it, but I'm willing to do it if I have to. And then I say, okay, are you willing to do live video? I'll usually know it's a good prospect if they're like, I'm willing to do whatever you tell me to, if it's going to help the business. And I'm like, okay, I just need to know that. Because if they say no, I'm actually not even the face of this brand, I just own the business, then the question would be, where's the founder? And are they going to be the person? And then if they're just like, no, we just want to do ads, then I'm just like, I don't do ads. I can refer you to someone. I'm just trying to qualify them as fast as possible with no small talk and really interview them. It's an interview. And once I find out, okay, they are willing to do these things, I say, tell me about your client. I need to understand who their client is to help them succeed. And then I'll ask them a few more questions and I'll get to the end. And they have really, by this point, not been able to ask a question or haven't had any questions for me. And I'll just be like, okay, I'll put something together and I'll send it to you by tomorrow. You could review it and then we could have a second call based on this information that you gave me today.
Awesome. Thank you. That was helpful. You're setting up for the information that you're going to send them and then a second call.
But my main thing is I really need to understand if I could help them, which is why I need to know who their client was. The last call I had, all his clients have over 1,000 employees and he wants them all to be in San Diego. So knowing that means that the priority in his strategy will have to be newsletters. I'll put something very personalized for them together. And then I think that's why it works, because it's actually personalized for what they want. And then sometimes I'm just like, listen, I don't think one-on-one is for you. I just identify, can I help them? And which thing is probably the best for them based on what they're telling me.
Yeah, this
All
was
right,
good. I
cool.
know we went over time, but this was really
No.
helpful.